this whole debate is pointless. It is a fool's errand. There is absolutely no reason for anyone to consider what their potential in terms of responding to weight training might be unless you are a person who is selecting the next gold medalist from the Chinese government in Olympic weightlifting. What's up guys, Enkiri here, and today we're going to talk a little bit about genetic potential. Once again, I've made a couple videos on this topic in these last couple months, and so you guys kind of know what my general thoughts are here. But then I saw a video pop up in my YouTube feed this past week where Coach Greg Doucette, had a little chat with Dr. Mike Israetel of Renaissance Periodization regarding genetic potential, and it was a very informative video. It was a great video, and I do encourage all of you guys to go watch it. I will link it below in the description in case you haven't had a chance to see it just yet. Now, I will say that I was a little bit disappointed, and it was a little bit unfortunate that Coach Greg still saw fit to misrepresent to Dr. Mike the primary argument that people who disagree with him in this debate are making. And here, I'll just show that clip to you guys right here.
It's been stated that to achieve elite level standards in powerlifting, most people can do that natural. And I said, by definition, it's an elite standard that's there because most cannot do it.
Again, and I've probably reiterated this 5 times now, but the discussion here, the debate here never revolved around elite status in the sport of powerlifting. It revolved around elite status according to that EXRX.net standards chart. So every time that Greg comes up in this argument and he says powerlifting, specifically, he is misrepresenting the arguments and the words of the people who are on the opposite side of the fence of him on this debate. According to its own about page, EXRX is, quote, a resource for exercise professionals, coaches, and fitness enthusiasts, end quote. It is not a resource for high-level powerlifting information. And if we compare the numbers that they present on that EXRX chart to the numbers presented by just the USPA, just for example here, we can easily see that. Because at 165 pounds, according to the EXRX chart, an elite total for the squat, bench press, and deadlift, the sport of powerlifting, would be 1,285 pounds. But according to the USPA, an actual contested powerlifting federation, an elite total at 165 pounds would be 1,374 pounds. So that is quite a bit higher. As well, they have another classification beyond that, beyond elite, called international elite, which has a threshold of 1,498 pounds, basically 1,500 pounds. So that is much, much higher. So again, nobody is saying that in terms of powerlifting, literally anybody can become elite, because the standards in powerlifting circles logically are going to be quite a bit higher. The discussion was always supposed to be what can be considered to be elite, just as an arbitrary term. What can be considered to be elite or highly impressive when using the everyman, the common man, the non-powerlifting man as the standard here. And those numbers are naturally going to be quite a bit lower and quite a bit more achievable by many more people. And another point I took contention with in their chat was regarding the normal distribution of human traits on a bell curve, because as Dr. Mike pointed out in their chat,
so all human traits generally, or almost all, are what we call in science normally distributed, which means there's like a bell curve, right? And that means most people are capable of, on average, like if they push themselves a certain thing, and it means that fewer and fewer and fewer people are capable of really insane shit. And then fewer and fewer people are capable of very not impressive things. But those fewer people exist. And there's numerically, like statistically, there's not a lot. Like, let's say the bottom 10% of genetic responders to weight training.
So right here in this snippet, Dr. Mike admits that the vast majority of people will respond at least reasonably well to the stimulus of weight training, right? But then Greg, further on in their conversation, goes on to say that most healthy men cannot achieve the hypothetical numbers that they were discussing in this video, which were a 300-pound bench press, a 400-pound squat, and a 500-pound deadlift, even under the absolute best of circumstances, with a perfect training program, perfect consistency, perfect effort, a fantastic coach, and a lifetime of dedication.
if they dedicate their lives, like they train perfectly, they have a coach, they do everything 100%, they train their ass off.
And that's just kind of contradictory of the two guys here. They're kind of agreeing with each other outwardly, but then their words suggest otherwise. And it's just kind of contradictory to say that most people are going to fall along this normal distribution, and most people, the vast majority of people, will respond reasonably well to the stimulus of weight training. But then go on to say that even under perfect conditions with a lifetime of dedication, that most people won't be able to achieve these absolute metrics that they listed in their discussion. And these absolute metrics are, in reality, far below the potential that we know to be possible by a large abundance of people. A large abundance of people who are only good at powerlifting. People like myself. People who are not even anywhere close to what the best of the best can do. So to me, that portion of the chat came off as somewhat disingenuous, where they were essentially kind of discounting the potential of the human genome. Not where we actually are, not what is actualized, but the potential of the human genome after hundreds of thousands of years of hard-fought survival and evolution. How can you discount potential when we can't possibly know what that potential on a large scale is? Even using scientific metrics, as Dr. Mike does in their chat, it is impossible to know what the potential distribution for something like this could be, because you could never create a world where enough people actually truly maximize their own potential to be able to make any kinds of concrete claims here regarding what potential is, regarding what their potential may be, which is what this entire discussion has been about. Potential, right? Not actualized gains, but potential. And they keep saying things like, well, this many people have achieved blah, 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 and this many people haven't. But that is a flawed argument. This is not like height. There isn't just a default mean here that we can calculate plus or minus however many standard deviations from. There are far too many other factors and intangibles at play here. Too many other potential variables that will simply never be realized on a large enough scale when it comes to determining strength, potential, and mass. Starting with proper implementation, just for one thing, probably one of the biggest, consistency. Consistency for a long enough period of time, effort level exerted over years and years and years, which you simply cannot gauge in another person, along with just plain desire, the want for it. Not enough people check all of these boxes, and not enough people check all of these boxes for a long enough or a consistent enough period of time for anyone to sit here and be able to definitively say that such and such metric is only achievable by this tiny percentage of the population. And Dr. Mike,
you can have a 180-pound kid with 3 plates and change, and he's doing reps. Everyone stops what they're doing and looks.
Exactly.
That's rare, and it's rare for fucking reason.
Just because a feat that requires years and years of grueling effort to achieve is rarely one that is actualized, that does not, by default, preclude its potential for a higher prevalence. So I'll say it again and again and again and again, and I'll say it a million freaking times. You guys can't know. Nobody can know. So why make these pessimistic arguments? What is the point of making these pessimistic arguments? Why create this pessimistic negative narrative within this pessimistic negative framework? I personally simply don't see the point or the benefit of doing something like this. And even Dr. Mike's example that he cited towards the end of the video is highly, highly flawed.
We trained like the people that like ran the finance departments of various huge banks, there's all multimillionaires and shit. And these are the kind of the people that were probably like average / nerds when they were in high school. Like, you know, the kids that weren't like jocks or sports people. And I tell you what, like we had a whole gym of these guys, great people, dedicated. Like these aren't the motherfuckers that skip workouts. Like they're just good at everything they do. Dedication is never a problem. These guys, if you benched 185 at all, never mind for reps, you were in the top 5% strongest people at that gym. If you could handle a plate on a slide in the bench for reps, people turned and looked and they're like, damn, you're doing real well, Tom. He was like, thanks, guys. It took me a while to get here.
But these aren't normal people, as he calls them. These aren't average people. This is a population that he's referring to that's essentially the antithesis of an athlete. This is a population that has been selected from the time that they were children to not perform physical activity, encouraged not to compete in sports, to not worry about or cultivate their own physicality. He alludes to this himself. These guys, they were the nerds. They've had their heads in a book since they were 8 years old. That is not a normal population, and it speaks almost nothing to their genetic potential. Now you have to consider nature versus nurture. And personally, I would argue that this is a population that has been bred from childhood to be as physically inept as possible, simply because they had a natural proclivity for intelligence, or whatever the hell you want to call it. And then they got a little bit older, and they got sick of being small, and they got sick of being weak, so now they decide to dedicate themselves to the gym. But you cannot use them as an example to prove that normal people, whatever that means at this point, have a low potential for responding to weight training. But anyway, I digress. Rebutting all those points specifically wasn't really what I wanted to cover today, but I got a little bit sidetracked. So I'm going to try to keep this next part short so that I don't lose too many of you. I'm sure I've lost some of you already. But what I really wanted to cover today, what I really wanted to talk about, what the discussion really riled up in me once again, was kind of what I viewed as the essence of this whole debate in the first place. And I feel like, kind of tangentially, I feel like I have tried to maintain a realistic but positive point of view here this entire time. I don't think that anything that I have claimed has been out of bounds in any of my videos, but I think that I have portrayed a largely overall positive message. But to be perfectly honest with all of you, all that I've really been trying to do here is kind of swing the pendulum back just a little bit from what I view as Greg's pretty extremist point of view, because obviously, I would never deny the fact that genetics play a role in everything we do. Obviously, I would be some kind of a nut job to make a claim like that. But the fact is, what I really believe is that this whole debate is pointless. It is a fool's errand. There is absolutely no reason for anyone to consider what their potential in terms of responding to weight training might be, unless you are a person who is selecting the next gold medalist from the Chinese government in Olympic weightlifting. And considering these sorts of aspects before you've invested any real time in the game simply shows me that you already have one foot out the door. You're already searching for the excuse that you're going to use when you inevitably fail. And you will fail, because you do not truly believe in yourself. Somebody like Ray Williams or Ilya Ilin or John Hack or whoever the hell you want to say, whoever you want to use as an example, I promise you, these motherfuckers do not hop on internet forums and ask people what their potential is. They don't lay in bed at night and wonder if they have the potential to achieve X, Y, or Z. They just don't. They do not. I guarantee you. It is simply not a thought process that has ever occurred to them. They believe in themselves organically and naturally. That is an intuitive trait for them. It's one that can be learned by you, but it is intuitive for them. And they enjoy the process enough that they just do it. They just go out and they do the work. And then eventually, after years and years, the chips simply fall where they were going to fall. But if some guy is out there right now and he has the potential to out-total John Hack, if he just does the work for a long enough period of time, but if he's there, if he's out there, but if he's sitting on fucking Reddit right now asking people what his potential is, it's fucking moot. It doesn't matter. He's not going to achieve it anyway because he does not possess the required mentality to do so. And that mentality that he does possess, that mentality of failure, that mentality of doubt, is going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that is something that I can promise you. It does not matter what your potential is. If you're so worried about it, you're not going to get there anyway, regardless of what your true ceiling is genetically. You reach your potential only when you stop thinking about your potential, when you stop worrying about your potential. That's the only way to get there. I promise you. It's easier to do than me it's harder to do than me just sitting here saying it to you. But that is the only way. So to sit here and harp on the inverse, to always be wondering what you might be able to achieve if you were lucky enough to be born on the right side of the coin flip, it's a fool's errand. It cannot make you better. All it can do is limit you. All it can do is become a hindrance. All it can do is make you worse. So just stop thinking about it. Stop worrying about it. It doesn't do anything for you. If becoming big and becoming strong is something that you really want to achieve, then just put your head down and put in the work for the next 10 years. There's no other solution, and that is going to get you as far as you can possibly get. And I can promise you that. If you can do that, then by Dr. Mike's very own admission, the vast majority of you will be able to achieve results that are worth bragging about. And you know, that's kind of the catch-22 about potential. Most people simply never realize theirs. And those who obsess over it don't have enough time or mental energy left to actually realize their own potential as an individual. But you guys can rest easy knowing that the potential normal distribution here is much, much higher than the actualized normal distribution that Greg and Mike keep referencing in their discussion. And no one, not even a highly educated coach and a highly educated doctor can tell you otherwise. So let it go. Put the work in and let your true potential become actualized. Anyway, that's all I got for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you know somebody who's obsessing about their genetic potential, be sure to share it with them. Please remember to smash the like button before you go. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and definitely leave me some love in the comments down below. And if you're interested in online coaching or training programs, be sure to visit my website, www.enkirielitefitness.com, for more details. Keep training hard, and I will catch you guys next time.